What I'd like to talk with you about today is primarily the question of what is art now? What is it now at the end of 2018, soon to be 2019? What is art? And that's an age old question. And if you've watched any of my videos or read any of my writing or talked to me in person, you know that I've been espousing a kind of awareness as art, and sometimes how I describe it as art as the craft of life, essentially an awareness raising as a practice of doing art to come into contact with life itself more and more. But what is it? What is it to other people? And what do we see as we look out into the expanse of I guess partially the art world and partially maybe the rest of the world and so forth. Um, my readings of Arthur Danto, who coined the phrase "the art world," um, has been in context of also his surmising of the end of art, the end of historical art, anyways, is what he said, and how um, artistic creation has become pluralistic, post-historical, and a kind of free-for-all, kind of Wild West, where anything kind of goes, but is no longer in the historic narrative that had been transpiring um, over the many years prior to that. And he poses the question in the philosophical disenfranchisement of art, um, that he's not sure if art will try to be historical in the future, if it will find a way of continuing a narrative arc. And some of the work that I've done has looked at continuing a thread that I've seen, as I've said many times, but it's worth saying again, that develops from Marcel Duchamp through several practitioners over the last century that merged art and life together, or art and reality together, or art, life, and reality together. And such that I see a grand potential in the idea of awareness raising as an artistic practice, or what I sometimes refer to as crafting life or co-crafting life, and how with the idea of relational aesthetics and social practice or social movements in art, how cultural, social, and political issues were addressed in the plastic arrangement or installation of art in galleries and museums could now be cultivated as a sense of awareness in one's own life that stretches beyond the gallery and museum and radiates out into the everyday life sphere of each person's life and the world as we know it. And in that sense, through primarily meditation and possibly mindfulness as well, the idea that one can work on one's awareness and work on it like artwork, to cultivate a deeper sense and connection with oneself and others and the world at large, and to work on things like compassion and being a positive force in the world, for good change and possibility. So I think there's a sense of, you know, a lot of what art is. There's still conventional practice going on with painting and drawing and sculpting and a lot of installation and a lot of work with new materials like artificial intelligence or video, sound, artwork generated online. But all of those things are dealing with materials which I think, in a sense, have passed away in the way that they're used as plastic installments for exhibitions. That's my own personal philosophy that I'm working with. I still very much love the act of painting, But I see that there's a new way of doing things that will have us living our art day to day through a kind of integrated approach to life or way of thinking that will bring us into a fuller contact and connection with life itself. And in that sense, I see that possibility as continuing the work of the mind of Danto. And so that's where I see art as being right now and what it can be. And I look forward to talking with some folks about what they think art is and what they think it might become. But more importantly, what is it now? There are a lot of art fairs out there still, and biennials, and still exhibitions going on, and museums and galleries. Um, so there's a lot to be talked about of what it can be. I just am very passionate about this idea of art being basically a kind of crafting of life or co-crafting of life, and looking at awareness as art. That I want to talk about those things and really see that maybe there's a potential for both being the case, that, exhibitions can go on and galleries and museums and fairs and so forth, but instilling a kind of deeper sense, possibly is a way of saying it, that is infused throughout the 24 hours of a day and includes exhibitions and galleries and museums and fairs and so forth, but continues on out into one's life throughout all 24 hours and connects people who never thought of themselves as artists and also people who consider themselves conventional artists, and finds kind of a new way of doing art. Anyways, those are my thoughts.